not benefit from any of those beautiful places downtown Kisumu. So they see it as burning somebody else's property that they have been denied access to. Okay. So in a sense, I think this was a massive expression of this class anger, in which the unemployed bottom that has no safety net was actually sort of just had so much anger pent up against the sort of conspicuous consumption of the Kenyan ruling class and the Kenyan money class. So the initial problems kicked off in Kisumu, of course, which is sort of the center of, in many ways, the place with the most ODM support. Now, but this is before the announcement that Kibaki was president. Then the following day, we're watching television, and as we're watching television, the head of the Electoral Commission says he has an announcement to make. So he comes downstairs, and someone announced that he's going to announce who is the winner. And a member of ODM, of the ODM Pentagon, raised his hand and said they have something to say. And they made an appeal that the results should not be announced, because they said, we have someone right here with us from Molo, who was the polling official, who says the data you have for Molo is not the right data. And we have evidence that the right data is the right score is much lower for Kibaki than what you're going to present. Please don't make an announcement. Everybody's watching this on TV nationwide. But at that point, another announcement followed. They said that electric power had been turned off at Kenyatta Conference Center. So the lights were actually turned off with everybody watching. And then a few minutes later, it was announced that everybody must leave the building. So all the international media left, all the non-governmental media that was in left. And then a few minutes later, the lights came back in and they said, okay, Mr. Kivuitu will continue to make his announcement in a separate room, and the only media permitted is government media, only KBC.
See, that's right there.
So it's at that point, when that announcement was made, that's when the country began to burn literally spontaneously. People just began lighting houses spontaneously of people that were seen as Kibaki's supporters. And I remember one very specific story that my brother Ajay told me. Ajay was in the village with his family, and they don't have a TV in their village house, so they were sitting in the middle of Magoro town watching TV with a large crowd of people, because the town has very few televisions. So all of them are sitting there just watching, keeping track on the counting and the reports of the elections. Now, Ajay says that immediately Kivuitu announced that Kibaki is the president, that without anyone talking to anyone, he just saw all the boys screaming, and they all just ran out. They ran out and set up a roadblock immediately on the road that links Kenya to Uganda. And then a small portion of them began running out to the house of the nearest man that was perceived as a Kibaki supporter, and just burnt his house down. This is without anyone calling them. So that my own sense is that most of the burning of houses was actually spontaneous.
Yeah.
And in Kisumu you'd see the same thing, where boys just put up roadblocks across the place. A massive expression of just spontaneous anger at the fact that they are watching an election being rigged. They saw Mr. Kibaki's theft of the election as a metaphor, literally, of theft of their hopes and theft of their future.
Right.
Okay. And so a lot of people really are wondering why are these boys doing this? Why are they destroying an economy from which they would benefit? Because the only way to actually move forward is if the economy is functional. But what I think must be remembered is that these many boys and girls did not perceive that they have any stake in the society.
Yeah.
And they did not see the economy under Mr. Kibaki as distributing anything to them. But they took seriously ODM's promise of Majimboism. Okay, the ODM had a promise that the GDP would be distributed. Okay, so this is really what then kicks in. Now, my own experience, my personal experience was this. I'm in Kisumu with my friend whom I've gone to visit, who was an observer, one of the election observers. And so I'm at a hotel, I'm at the New Nyanza Club, which is slightly out of town. And we realized that there's something definitely very strange going on. That you could see smoke from a distance, and there were no workers at the restaurant. So we inquired, what is going on? Where are the people? And we're told, oh, they can't get to work. All the streets have been blocked, and angry youth are burning down buildings. So at that point, we got very worried, and so we made a lot of phone calls. I called my sister, who is married in Rarienda, which is a place in Nyanza, not too far from Kisumu, about an hour's drive out of Kisumu. So I called my sister and asked them if they could come for me. They said they couldn't because the roads have been blocked, and even if they did, they can't come across downtown Kisumu. So later we agreed that they would come the following day and that they would wait for me at the airport, because at least they were still told you couldn't drive through the middle of Kisumu town. So the following day they came to the airport and waited for me, and then now my friend and I were waiting for a courageous person. We wanted a taxi driver who would take us to the airport. We called several taxi drivers whose numbers we had. They all said no. But then there was one man who had come to pick up some foreign electoral observers from the hotel. We asked him if we could squeeze into his cab. He said no, it was full. And he actually said he would come back for us, which I did not believe. But I was quite shocked when about 40 minutes later, the man actually came back. And he said, okay, he will take us out. So we get into this man's taxi, he's driving us to the airport. And I was shocked at his courage, because we're driving through Oginga Odinga Road, and literally 100% of those buildings had either been burnt or they were on fire as we were going. You could actually see the fire. The places were just burning.
Take pictures of
No, we didn't. Partly because partly because we were afraid of what the reaction of the boys might be. We thought they might storm the car or something. So we drove through the Oginga Odinga Road, and houses were just on fire. Those that had not been burnt, everything was being burnt. The boys were all over the place. So we drive through this, we get to the airport, and I was so grateful to this taxi man. I took his phone number and called him several times later to make sure he's okay. So then my sister and her husband and my sister's father-in-law and a young man came to pick us up in an SUV. That's one of those so-called double cabin where the back is open. So we get into this vehicle and we begin to drive out towards Rarienda. Rarienda is next to Bondo. So as we're driving out, the first thing we did was stop at a gas station to make sure that we pick up extra petrol since fuel was running out. Because